So I'm Alexandra Sa Carvalho. Thank you, Daria. I'm very happy to be here also. I work for the European Commission. I'm deputy head of the international unit in DG Home, which is the Director General that follows issues related to migration and security and home affairs in general, so protection, etc. And we, in the international unit, we follow the processes, so the one with the Prague one, but also those with African countries, and the Budapest one with the Silk Route also.
Thank you very much, Alexandra. Can you please tell me what are the main challenges currently faced by the European Commission?
For the migration aspects, I guess. Exactly. Because there are several big important challenges. But in the migration, you know that we have been dealing with several crises that are also related to the fact that unfortunately there are a lot of conflicts in our neighborhood and in the world at large, which had led to several movements of people. A lot of these people looking for protection, for running away from conflicts, but then with the crisis developing and economic problems, and now we've seen in the last 3 years with the impact of COVID-19, there are also people that come that do not have a right to protection. We call these the mixed movements. And these movements have put pressure on the protection and the integration systems of our member states, so there has been a bit of a backlash and the need to intervene there. So there's been really a challenge to work within the Union to prepare better our systems for these movements that became quite regular, and at the same time work with our partners outside the European Union, countries that can be of origin or can be of transit, other countries of destination. We've been working with them to find ways to reduce the regular and the mixed movements. But of course there are other challenges, because we very much focus on these issues that are on the news. But more than 10 times the people that come irregularly, like I mentioned here, or that come for protection, 10 times more come legally to the EU. So around 2 to 3 million people come to the EU every year to work, to join their families, to study. And these are forces of good and of development, and we very much welcome them. But it is a new policy, and our common rules are still limited at EU level, and so we are not using to the good potential we have of the internal market, so we are also working on this. So we are working both for the protection and for the dealing with the irregular flows and crime that normally is related to them, and we are also working to stabilize and reinforce our rules for legal migration.
What would be top 3, let's say, challenges that you would highlight?
For the next month or years to come, I would say internally for our work in the EU, we have to finalize the protection legal framework. It's something that our protection and asylum framework was developed for the situations of the 90s. So the small arrivals of refugees from here and there that came by plane, and then with the look for asylum in the EU, we need to adapt to the new routes and the new way of people arriving. And this has been a difficulty to find a common position of our member states. So for the moment, we are still discussing what we call the Pact on Migration and Asylum. So several renewed legal instruments to have a new system to protect people in the EU. A second one I would mention is the reinforcement of our partnerships with third countries. And we do this in different ways. We have the bilateral contacts with countries that are more relevant because they are closer to us, or because they are transit countries, or because they are origin of a lot of people that arrive irregularly. But also we work at regional level, and this is, for instance, the Prague Process that we are meeting today is one very key element of this regional approach, where we have a whole route. We have sitting together countries that are of origin, countries that are of transit, and those which are of destination, and we try to find solutions together and projects together. And finally, we have also continent-to-continent and multilateral discussions at the UN, at the United Nations, but also, for instance, with the African Union or with the regional organizations in other continents.
Thank you very much. You just mentioned the work with the partners. Therefore, I would like to ask you, what is the role of the regional processes in the EU's external migration policy?
Well, we very much value those processes because they are a way to indeed put together people, exchange ideas, exchange best practice, develop projects together, but also look at the problems in a strategic way that reflects the interests of different people and create links and understanding with them. So we very much value these processes, notably the Prague process.
I see. And my last question would be about the recent policy achievements by the European Commission. Could you tell me what are the recent achievements?
I would say that we should be very proud of the rapid reaction we could put together with our member states to welcome the Ukrainians running from the war. This was really not seen before, that we put together a common position of all our member states, in this case for the activation of the Temporary Protection Directive, which is an instrument that dates from the beginning of 2000s, from a previous serious war in the Balkans in Europe, and that was never used. So in fact what it means that people do not need to go through a full asylum procedure, and therefore the reception conditions and the capacities of member states are not overwhelmed by a big movement of people. However, it was new, we did it from scratch. The decision was prepared in a weekend, and it was approved on the following Friday by member states, which is really unseen in our lives. And then, of course, the devil comes in the detail, and then we needed to have interpretation guidance. We had also to approve rules to interpret the emergency situations for the border controls, because people were coming in, both Ukrainians and non-Ukrainians coming from Ukraine were coming in sometimes without the full documents that were needed. So there was a large flexibility for crossing the border that was not the normal way to deal with this situation. So I think that we reacted both at EU level to adapt to the legal framework, and then for member states for their operation of the arrivals of people very quickly. And I think we can be very proud also that it's not related to the institutions, but that Europeans reacted very positively to this large flow of people arriving. And so I think we can be proud of the reaction we had, and just now hope that things get clear, that we understand better where people are living, that they have access to their rights, that we really try to avoid any cases of exploitation or of trafficking, and so we protect the people, and the people that arrived and were received here have access to all their rights.